Alrighty, this is going to be your seated soleus stretch. We're going to set up off a small bench. You could use a small step. You can use a couple plates. You don't want this to be super high, but the reason for this is actually I find most people are going to feel more of a stretch in the backside, Achilles, soleus, and all the stuff on the back. When a lot of people do this stretch and they're just have their foot on the ground, they tend to feel more pinching and jamming in the front of the ankle. And whenever we do any ankle dorsiflexion work, where we're trying to get the knee as far over the toe as possible, we want to feel a stretch in the back and not jamming in the front. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab a heavy kettlebell. I find that above 35 pounds is actually going to be more helpful. If it's too light, it's not going to feel right. So we're going to set up here. I recommend something for the outside knee, and then we are going to put our foot up, and then I'm going to get into this stretch. Now, when we go into a dorsiflexion stretch, a lot of people are going to have their foot really tight and tense. You want to try to relax your foot as much as possible. Then I'm not pushing the kettlebell down, because if I push the kettlebell down into my thigh, I'm just going to jam my ankle. We want the ankle and the shin bone to fall forward, and the foot needs to pronate and relax. Now, if you feel jamming and the pinching in the front, you definitely need to check to see if your foot can pronate and flatten, because if our foot doesn't pronate and flatten and the arches don't drop, the shin can't fall forward. So if I go here, I'm going to relax my foot, keep your foot completely relaxed. I'm not pushing with the kettlebell, and then I slowly let my shin fall forward, and my heel should stay in contact with the ground. But if I have this back leg too far back, I'm going to feel like I get stuck more by the back groin stretch. So I definitely would keep nice and close here, and then I'm going to fall forward until I feel that stretch. Now, I can turn my knee, so if I'm face here, if I let my knee go slightly inside my big toe, that might be the stretch for you. You can turn your knee out, but the big key is you want to find where you feel the stretch, and we're going to scan for the stretch. So once I'm here, I'm going to set up my kickstand, and then I'm going to hold into that stretch. Now, I want to kind of mold around this kettlebell, and I find that gets me into the deepest stretch possible. Sometimes I'll even grab my shin here, and then I'm going to slowly scan the stretch by going knee in and knee out, and then I'm going to find where do I feel the tightest line of tension, and then right there, and just lightly use the kettlebell to get a little bit further into the stretch, and boom, that's going to be our position. Now, when it comes to the stretching and flexing, I'm going to think about doing a seated calf raise. So we're not going to move, but I'm going to think about doing a calf raise in the stretch. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do the opposite, where we tried to do a toe or shin lift to get further in the stretch. So we're going to combine a lift off and our stretch. So let's go ahead in here, head into the stretch. Now, if you feel jamming in the front of the ankle, like I said, try to kind of turn your back leg, search and destroy where you feel like you get a nice Achilles and soleus. So there I go. I find when I go and mold around the kettlebell, it feels even better. And now I'm going to find that stretch. Now, for some people, when you do the calf raise to stretch and flex, if you lift your heel a tiny bit off, that's going to be even better. So some people can't flex with their heel on the ground, so you might just lift it enough to get your fingers under there, and then we're going to do our seated calf raise. Now, when I do this, I don't want my heel to get any higher off the ground. So if you have your heel slightly off the bench, make sure it doesn't get any higher when you do the calf raise. So you don't need to be pushing down super hard with the kettlebell, but I want to think push down with the kettlebell, and then I start my isometric through the calf, and then I get to my max effort. Boom. And now I'm going to slightly rock back until I feel like I can lift my toes off. And it's almost like I'm trying to shorten the distance between my top of my foot and my shin. And then I relax, and then I rock back in. I can do that for reps where I flex down, calf and soleus, flex, rock back until I feel like I can do that chin lift. And it doesn't look like much, but when I do that shin lift, I'm trying to contract my toes to my knee and shorten the distance between the shin, and then I relax and go back down. Now, I can do regular lift-offs where I go here, lift, down, lift, and down, but I prefer the method where you try to lift and then rock back and keep the distance between you as short as possible. That is going to be your seated soleus stretch and flex with lift-off combo.